Oh, the weekend didn't turn out exactly as I had planned. Kathy Wood was very late with her video. If you haven't watched it, I would highly recommend it. Larry and I will talk about it tomorrow night in our regular time on Monday. As you know, we'll weave it into the rest of our normal activity on that Monday night show. I had another one of those, brain problems the other day. Here's a new theory of mine: zero carbon, which some people care about, or something close to zero carbon, that future is now secure. And what happened to change it to, on the way to me feeling that it's really, really quite secure? Well, that would be number one on my list here of 7. It's because nuclear is back in style. So we clearly have now a situation where, at least in the United States and in some European countries and certainly in China, maybe in other countries as well, nuclear is okay again. It's okay to use nuclear energy, and to the extent that we start building nukes and really get serious about it in the 30s, I think that will be a big addition to the rest of the effort. Number 2, battery electric vehicles will soon be much cheaper than ICE. That is absolutely a certainty. There's not any chance it's not going to go that way. So as BEVs become cheaper than ICE, then the ICE part of the business will go away, and it'll be very, very clear in the truck, semi-truck and large truck industries, as well as in the regular auto. And we'll probably see it in other places. We may see it eventually in, of course, aircraft, but certainly in boats and even ships. The large ships will probably all be electric, over time. It'll be a big, big change. Number 3, robo-taxis will replace most rides. Let's say even half, or maybe more than half of the rides, as to the extent that robo-taxis do that. And I don't just mean Tesla robo-taxis, but the entire industry will switch over. That'll all be battery-based, and it'll all be reducing the amount of, reducing the CO2s by a lot. Solar and batteries will dominate the new energy installs. I know there will be wind, there will be, some other things. You'll still have some geothermal, you'll have a little this, you'll have a little that, but basically solar and batteries will dominate by far in terms of new energy installs. And that will slowly but surely, switch things over. Number 5, batteries will improve efficiency of the existing grid. So existing gas-fired, existing coal-fired, whatever's creating the fuel now, those will become more efficient as a result of batteries being installed near them or for them, or working to level out their use. And of course, the installation of batteries instead of peaker plants. That's another huge aspect of what we're going to be seeing going forward. Then number 6, new tech will move more energy on existing power lines. So your existing power lines are 100-year-old ideas. They are still using the same, kind of technology, even to the extent that there has been some tech done at the ends of, say, those power lines where the power is being offloaded through transformers and whatnot. Those are old technology also. That is changing rapidly. I think we'll see huge changes in that part of the business. And then 7, electric power will be nearly free, as Tony Seba has been telling us for a long time, as Elon has been telling us for a long time. So with electric power getting to nearly free, appliances will switch to electric very rapidly. It won't require government intervention. Once people can, get their electricity for almost free, and their gas or some other thing will cost a lot of money, they will switch. It will be a no-brainer. Okay, what do you think about this list? Is there something I should add to it? Is there something I said wrong? Would this cause you to believe that maybe the protesters could find a new hobby because the solution is now well in hand? Yeah, it might take till 2050 to really get down to zero carbon. But if it happens in 2050, that's better than if it happens in 2070, if you happen to believe that carbon is an issue. All right, from Rains again. Here we go. When it rains, it pours. By the way, he is Rains1220 on X if you want to follow him. He says, this is great. This is amazing. He says, I collected 482 posts posted during 2023 related to 3 kinds of Waymo incidents: ran a red light, blocking an emergency vehicle, and going the wrong way. After analyzing it using GPT 4.440 and using O1 preview, he took out the false positives. Then the analysis was prioritized on minimizing false positives, and I was able to confirm at least 54 critical incidents, including running a red light 24 times, blocking emergency vehicles 23 times, and going the wrong way 7 times. Then he added 8 police-reported incidents during 2023 and 15 disengagements reported disengaged for an unwanted maneuver. He ended up having a total of 77 potential critical disengagements when, if supervised. These would have been, if somebody was supervising 100%, these would be totally supervised interventions or disengagements. Waymo reported 1.188 million driverless miles in 2023, which leads to an upper bound of at most 15,440 miles to critical disengagement. The question is, what percentage of Waymo incidents were seen by strangers and reported on X? If we assume 1 in 10 of these incidents were posted on X, then Waymo's number drops to like 2,112 miles to a critical disengagement. So he's saying that, what he's seeing here on these posts and the information that comes from Waymo or comes from police departments or whatever, that the grand total is probably a fraction. He doesn't know what that fraction is. He's throwing out a number. Maybe it was 1 in 10. Maybe it was 1 in 12. Maybe it was 1 in 8. Maybe it was 1 in 20. We don't know, but it was not all of them. That would be for sure. And so you have a few people that are reporting on some of these, all right? Note that this number was achieved with the help of remote operators. We know that there's at least some remote operation. The remote operators are answering questions, drawing waypoints, etc. On the other hand, even if Waymo still ran red lights, went the wrong way, and blocked emergency vehicles, it is still safer than human drivers, suggesting the human drivers might perform okay, might not perform better than 2,000 miles between critical mistakes. Now, again, his number is somewhere between 2,000 and what was the original? 15,000 miles. Okay, so somewhere between 2 and 15,000 would be the lower, maybe an upper limits. It's probably, might be less, but probably that would be the lowest amount. Humans are too arrogant when seeing machines make stupid mistakes, but they don't realize machines never look at cell phones, never feel sleepy, never have a DUI, never get distracted by children in the car or an argument with a spouse or whatever, etc. Don't eat while driving, etc., etc. So I thought this was a very interesting analysis. I think this tells us that probably if we have one intervention, if Elon is able to actually reach a level where he's confident that there's only one actual safety intervention for every 10,000 miles, 8,000 miles, actual critical, not maybe would have been critical, but actual critical for every 10,000 miles, he's probably ready to let folks drive without supervision. All right, this is Randy Kirk. Like, subscribe, notify. What do we have tomorrow? You already know. Larry Goldberg tomorrow night, and we're going to do the Cathie Wood thing during that show, and then Brian White tomorrow in the middle of the day. During the course of the week, things are going to be probably a little bit confused, and because I've got all kinds of activities on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, including being in Burbank Thursday night. So things might be a little cattywampus. I will notify you each day when these shows will be different. All right, what do we got coming up this week in terms of things that will be reported that might move the markets? Well, we start with lots of Fed presidents and Fed governors and whatnot speaking. On Monday, we've got Michelle Bowman. On Monday, we've got President Alberto Musalem, anyway, speaking on Monday. Anyway, but we have the consumer credit numbers out on Monday, and the street who was polled on this think that's going to drop a lot from an uptick of 25 million, I guess it would be last month, to only 12 million this month. And that would be quite a drop. So they're believing that consumers are not spending as much on credit as they were last month. We'll see what happens on that one. Bunch more Fed governors and presidents speaking on Tuesday. And the big one on Tuesday is the NFIB Optimism Index, the National Federation of Independent Business People, I guess it would be today. That is one of my favorites every single month. We want to see what these small businesses are doing. If you listen to one of my reports yesterday, It turns out that maybe those numbers on Friday, the job numbers on Friday were completely screwed up, mostly because they didn't get all the data in. They had very small amounts of the data compared to normal, and the likelihood of data from the small businesses would be coming in slower than from the larger businesses. And so they're thinking that might be why the numbers are so crazy. And multiple people are expecting huge changes in those numbers when the next number comes out. Then we also have the U.S. trade deficit, 78 billion last month, expecting that to be lower at 70 billion. I don't think that's going to move the market. I don't think the NFIB moves the market, by the way, either, but it should. Those guys, that's 60% of the economy is those small business owners. Then we have on 10 o'clock, I'm sorry, on Wednesday morning, we have the wholesale inventories. Last month, up 0.2%. They're thinking it'll be up another 0.2%. That seems like a strong increase after 0.2 last month. We'll see. And then all kinds of Fed people speaking also on that day. Oh, we also have that day at 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 o'clock West. That will be the minutes of the Fed's September FOMC meeting. That commonly can move the market because there can be something in there that folks didn't know, and then they go ahead and start making a move. Now, during the week, there may be some anticipation and anxiety over Thursday because that's the big numbers that are going to be coming up this week, Thursday and Friday, and in particular Thursday, when we get, of course, the initial jobless claims. They're expecting those to bump up from last week to 230,000 from 225. But then we have the consumer price index, the CPI. Last month, it was up 0.2%. They're thinking that the headline number will only be up 0.1% month over month. Possible because oil prices had been down. They're now bouncing back up again. So next month's number might be impacted by that. Then you've got the core CPI. They're thinking that's going to come. Last month, it was up 0.3. They're thinking that will only be up 0.2. Now, that would be very interesting. That would be something the Fed could look at in terms of going ahead with their drops in the interest rates over the next couple of months. But CPI year over year on the headline, that's a good one, dropping from 2.5 to 2.3. But on the core, they're expecting that to stay the same and to stay over 3%. That would be not so good. 3.2% per year is not the number that the Fed's looking for. So, and that's on the core, the number they look at by far with the most interest. Then on Friday, we've got the producer price index, and last month we were up 2.2%, and they were thinking that will drop to only 0.1%. The core PPI last month was up 0.3%. That's not, again, what the Fed's looking for. They're not making a guess on that one. So we'll see what happens. Then year over year, last month, the headline was 1.7 and the core was 3.3. Neither one of those are getting any kind of estimates from those who were polled. The other thing we get on Friday is this consumer sentiment report, the preliminary for the next quarter. This is the report that comes out 3 times and it gets adjusted. Last quarter, the final one came in at 70.1. They're thinking that the consumer sentiment will pop up a little bit to 70.3, but that would mean that the consumers are still not happy at all. That would still indicate a lot of nervousness, a lot of unhappiness by the consumers. But sometimes we do get some additional color in there about why the consumers might not be very happy. All right, let's take a look at where the pre-market is now. As we go here, we have got, so sorry, I got distracted by a note. We have got, first of all, let's see if the bonds should be in now. Yes, here they are. Okay, so the bonds continuing up. Interesting. I thought maybe they would start to soften. We are now at 3.985 on the 10-year, up 0.4 of a basis point in the pre-market. You've got the 2-year up 2.4. You now have, believe it or not, well, you're still verted the right way, but you're very close to going back into an inversion now. with the 2-year at 3.956, only 29 basis points difference at this point. All right, you've got the 2-month. Is that 29? No, that's 2.9 basis points difference, not 29, 2.9. You've got the 3-month also up 2 basis points and the 2-month up almost 1.8 basis points. So the shorter term ones are up the most, with the 10-year being up just a little, but being almost at 4%. That is, it's gonna. I just don't know how the Fed if the 10-year stays around 4%. If we get the CPI and the PPI that we just saw, the labor numbers that we just saw, the Fed has to at least contemplate. I'm not saying that they won't raise, lower another 25 basis points, but they have to at least think about it. And then we'll see what next month's numbers are and see whether December, if business is picking up, and in fact inflation is picking up. I don't see how the Fed can cut another 50 basis points by the end of the year. We'll see what happens. All right, let's go ahead and look at the oil, which is going to be one of the things impacting. But let me just tell you about oil real quick. Maybe Larry and I will talk about this a little more tomorrow night. So oil is down 0.58 in the pre-market, 58 cents in the pre-market at 73.80. Now that's about $7 higher than it was 10 days ago. And for the most part, you would say, okay, that's because of the tension in the Middle East, all the bombing back and forth in Hezbollah, and what's going to happen with Iran, and lots of stuff that would cause the oil prices to go up. I agree. All that's true. What I want to tell you is that everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm seeing, is there is so much extra capacity in the world for oil right now. Massive amounts. The United States is pumping more oil than they've ever pumped. Brazil is increasing their amounts. Canada is increasing their amounts. And then you've got the Saudis have been sitting on 2 million barrels a day. The Russians are sitting on production. Other OPEC countries are sitting on production that they're not shipping right now. So I think we're at a place right now where it's going to be all about the cartels making decisions about how much they're going to pump is going to, and some of these issues, internationally, are going to impact the price of oil. I think we're at the place in terms of productivity, production. We no longer have to worry about having enough oil, and it's only going to go less and less and less as we get more and more of what I talked about at the beginning of the show. So we've got natural gas down a bit, 1.89% at $2.80. So that's back way off of its $2.96 of just a couple of days ago. We've got gold almost unchanged, 0.9, 90 cents, 80 cents up at 2,668. So it's cooled its heels a bit. Silver up a little bit, 0.13 at $32.43. That's still very strong. And copper up 0.16 at $4.58, also very strong. You've got the dollar. Oops. Oh, man. So sorry. Everything's gone away here. Okay, here we go. All right, we've got the dollar at this point still around its highs of the last 6 weeks, down a bit against the euro, up a bit, just a tiny bit against the yen, but very, very limited amounts. Crypto up 895 at 62,730, but still staying in the kind of really at the bottom, that bottom set of that range that it's been in for a while. And then the futures for the equities, the Dow 15 are 0.04 up, S&P unchanged, NASDAQ down 5.75 or 0.03%. So you could call all of the equities about as flat as it can be, but the Asian markets just opened and they are looking like they're climbing today. So anyway, well, that's what we have, except for me continuing to say, to the extent that you care, to the extent that it's fun, I believe that Tesla will go up to 265 by Thursday. It might not end the day on Thursday at 265, but I believe it'll get to 265 or darn near 265. And then all of us can watch the show because it won't be during the aftermarket hours. We can watch the show without watching the ticker and then all be surprised. Well, we can all make our bets after the show, after the event on Thursday night. We can all make our bets and see what happens and how Tesla acts on 10/11. Should be fun and interesting. And if this show is fun and interesting, then you could drop down below, find the Patreon button, the little link there, hit that link over and help support the show. All right, don't miss tomorrow. Brian White at the lunch hour and Larry Goldberg, and we'll be talking about the Cathie Wood report. That alone is worth the price of admission. It's been great talking to you.